people ain't gonna take you serious. They think, oh, he's playing games, you know, he ain't on his shit. Well, judge me all y'all want, but I ain't one to front. All right, let's do it.
What's going on, guys? We are here with the Weekly Take podcast, episode 6, brought to you by Icy Mikey on that nice intro, guys. Give him a follow at Icy Mikey on SoundCloud. But today, we are going to be talking about some NBA headlines, NBA scores, Week 6 recap, the Week 7 picks of the week for the NFL, and very much more leading into that. Let's start off with the Bucks at Hornets. You know, the Bucks gave the Hornets a pretty good game, and you know, although if a player would have hit the 3 at the end of the game, but Nick Batum, or I guess it was a wide open 2, he would have won the game. So let's just start off and talk about how the Bucks have that team, but I just don't see how they struggled. Maybe they're figuring out who they are. I know it's the first game of very many in the NBA, but I just don't see how the Bucks did not whoop on these Hornets. Maybe Tony Parker is inspiring people in the locker rooms. Maybe something's going on over there. Maybe Kemba Walker's getting something going. But, you know, the Bucks start off with 36 points in the first quarter, and they let them come back. I just don't know what was going on with them. Moving into the Nets at Pistons game, I was really impressed with these Nets. You know, the Detroit Pistons have Reggie Jackson. They got Zaza Pachulia on their team this year. Andre Drummond. They got a talented team. They even have Stanley Johnson over there. So let me just start off with the Pistons, and they ended up winning this game 103-100 at home. They won in the first game for their home crowd. But let me just say that the New York Nets, or the Brooklyn Nets, really, God, I can't believe I just went to New York Nets. What the hell? These Brooklyn Nets just really looked pretty well-rounded. You know, I know it's the first game of the season, but they gave up a pretty good fight for a team that everyone kind of hates on every season. Everyone hates on these Nets. But, you know, I think the Nets are like a couple big playmakers away from being at least in it. They are obviously the bottom feeders of the East this year. But who knows? You know, in the NBA, a lot of teams can come out of nowhere. But, you know, in this generation, unless you got a super team, you're not really too relevant, and the Brooklyn Nets aren't too relevant right now. So moving into the Grizzlies at Pacers game, we had the score of 111-83. Man, Victor Oladipo looks like he's going to lead this team to at least the 4th seed. And let me tell you why. Victor Oladipo is a super good leader on this team. With that young core team around him, I think they can very well go far into the playoffs. But there's a big but in that situation. They got the Philadelphia 76ers with Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons. They got the Boston Celtics with Kyrie, Gordon Hayward, Brown, Tatum. They have a lot of good young players on that Celtics team. You go into Toronto. They got Kawhi Leonard, Danny Green, Kyle Lowry, Valanciunas, Serge Ibaka. You look at Washington. They got John Wall, Bradley Beal, Gortat. You know, you just look at the East this year, and, you know, I don't know if it's really the least. Obviously, they're not as good as the West, and that's a duh. But I really think the East isn't going to be a pushover this year. I think the team that comes out of the East is going to represent pretty well against the West. But to end this game, the Grizzlies just look kind of short-handed, and the Pacers just look like they already figured out who they are going into game 1. So the Pacers ended up winning that game 111-83. Moving into the Heat and Magic game. Heat at the Magic. And wow, the Heat were almost in this game. You know, Goran Dragic tried to get some stuff in. Kyle Olynyk put in some work. You know, they got James Johnson. They got Haslam, D. Wade. This team is nice. I really like the Miami Heat. But I just feel like they're a little outdated. And let me tell you why. I just think that team would have thrived many years ago. And it's still a good team. Don't get me wrong. Dwayne Wade is leading this team, and he's teaching these young guys. But I just think the Heat needs someone a little more electric. And when I say electric, I mean they need someone like D. Wade is their electric player. Unless you count Hassan Whiteside or Dragic. They need someone who's going to sell that court and get the people involved. So I'm talking someone like Victor Oladipo, Donovan Mitchell, LeBron James, Steph Curry. I know I just said this for last thing, but I think they're one person away from being where everyone wants to be a Miami Heat fan again. I know when Chris Bosh and LeBron James and Battier were there, Ray Allen was there, even Rashard Lewis was there. I just think when they had that, a lot of people were more interested. Obviously, they were winning, but I just think they're one entertaining player away from being the old Miami Heat again. Miami Heat, came up short against this Magic. They had Foreigner, they got Terrence Ross, they got Mo Bamba over there. That team, Jonathan Simmons, Orlando Magic, they're not a pushover team, but they're not a powerhouse team. Let's get that through our head right now. These guys could very well rush for an 8 seed, but I don't know. The East is, this year, it's pretty complicated, and for one game of the year, it's hard for me to kind of judge it. Moving into the Cavaliers at Raptors game, and this game was really interesting to watch. I couldn't wait to watch it because Kawhi Leonard's first game as a Toronto Raptor. After all that San Antonio drama, he's finally able to get on the court and not have to worry about any more drama. And I think that's really cool. They got Kyle Lowry, Danny Green, Serge Ibaka, Valanciunas. That alone right there is a playoff contending team. They were the number 1 seed last year. A lot of people like to forget that because they got swept by LeBron. But with LeBron out of the East, that's going to be tough. Kawhi Leonard against these Boston Celtics, against the Sixers, he's going to lock them up. He's going to put up 28 a night. He's going to get 8 rebounds a night. He's a fantastic player. Danny Green could go off and have some 3-point magic like he did with the Spurs. I just really think the Raptors are going to be a really good team this year. They very well could be the first seed. But let me tell you guys about the Cavaliers. This Cavaliers team is aging, but I still like them a lot. I really like Colin Sexton. I really like Kevin Love. J.R. Smith still can get you a bucket when you need a bucket, except for game 1 in the finals. But let's not talk about that new year. Tristan Thompson, natural-born rebounder. I really like the Cleveland Cavaliers. Osman really did. He did really well, too. You look at that Cavalier team, and obviously when LeBron was there, that was the team to beat. But we'll see this year. The East is pretty excited to see that number 23 is no longer in Akron. So moving on to the Pelicans at Rockets game, it just goes to show Anthony Davis is a little overpowered for this league. When he has someone around him like Drew Holiday, and it can get him the ball, get going, get some assists, man, he's going to tear it up. And he's tearing it up right now, and he's something special. Anthony Davis is really a special player in this NBA. He was too much for the Rockets, and the Rockets are a super team. They got Chris Paul, James Harden, Carmelo Anthony. They're just looking fantastic. That 3 alone right there. I know Carmelo Anthony's not the greatest player. They got Eric Gordon. They had Trevor Ariza, and that was a big loss. And I think they were missing him a lot last night. He's a very good perimeter defender, inside defender. He's a big guy. So I really do think Houston was missing him last night. But again, I just think the thing to stop Anthony Davis with is I think they should do the approach, let him score his 50, or don't limit, and let everyone else around him do stuff. I mean, these Pelicans scored 35 in the first quarter. It was 35-29, and then they go and score 36. And right after that, going into the halftime with that big of a lead, in another place, they had the motivation, they had the momentum. I just really like the Pelicans this year. I just really wish Anthony Davis was on a different team so he could be more marketable, he could be more likable. I still like him overall. He's a cool guy. But I just wish he was in a bigger market so I could see more of him. New Orleans isn't really a big place. And I just think with Anthony Davis somewhere else, I think the league would do a little better. But although I do respect that he is staying in New Orleans, unlike his friend Boogie Cousins, yeah, that goes to show. We all know what happened there with Boogie Cousins going to the Golden State Warriors. Well, that's a headache waiting to happen. We'll talk about that later. The Timberwolves at the Spurs. DeRozan comes up clutch, and at the end, he scored some big buckets in the very beginning. The Spurs win this one at home in front of their home crowd, 112-108. And LaMarcus Aldridge played great. Rudy Gay played great. But let me tell you right now, the Spurs are missing a point guard. They're missing Lonnie Walker, Derek White, and they're missing DeJounte Murray. Those 3 alone right there are very good ball handlers coming up on the top of the court. I just think they're going to miss him. I think the Spurs are going to play a lot of bigger ball this year. They're not going to play no small ball. They never really were a small ball type team. But I just think they're going to be really defensive heavy this year, more than often. Because last year they really were. But I just really think that Rudy Gay, LaMarcus Aldridge, and DeMar DeRozan are going to be on the court a lot at the same time. Bertans is going to be on the court. Patty Mills is probably going to be the smallest guy on the court. It just goes to show the Spurs are going to – this is going to be a true test. I think Greg Popovich knows his coaching ability, and I don't think he's scared one bit. As a Spurs fan, I'm kind of worried. But I know it's in good hands with Pop. So the Spurs win this one 112-108. Jazz at Kings. Man, this game was one of those games where I didn't think the Kings would give the Jazz a game. Donovan Mitchell's outstanding. Rudy Gobert is amazing. I love that team. I love the Jazz. Although I hate them in the playoff time because they come up clutch and they win a lot of clutch games. When they beat the Thunder, I was pretty upset, to be honest with you. I didn't want them to win that series. I thought, Steven Adams, Paul George, Russell Westbrook needed it more, but they obviously showed that they're the better team. So, I'm not really hating. But I really like the Jazz this year. I think they're going to be like the 3 seed. People shouldn't sleep on these guys. They're a young team that knows themselves very well. That was a commanding win. They needed to win that game. That was a statement game, I think, right off the bat, showing who they are against these Kings. I know the Kings aren't the greatest team, but Jazz start off 1-0 in the league right now. And then moving into the Mavericks at Suns, I really just was kind of let down by the Mavericks, to be honest. I think the Mavericks are aging a little bit, and I think it's catching up to them. I just don't think that the Mavs are going to be able to play this type of ball they were and run it through Dirk and run it through all those older guys anymore because it's just not who they are anymore. They got to adapt to what the new things are in the league, and that's not what they're doing right now. The Suns are doing that exact thing to the par. They got DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker. Those two alone right there, and they picked up a veteran, Trevor Ariza. He's a veteran player in the playoffs at least. I think that's going to be a very good combo. I think the Suns are going to be pretty good this year. I don't know if they're going to go to the playoffs, but I know they're going to be very great. If DeAndre Ayton comes in and just balls out, maybe they can win the 8 seed. It's not going to be easy. I'll definitely tell you that for sure. And then there's also games going on tonight. LeBron is currently playing the Blazers. It's Thursday night. I was originally going to record this podcast at 4, and my whole podcast got erased. I apologize for that. But to start and talk about the LeBron game, I haven't even looked at it yet. I just really think a lot of people are kind of already hating on these Lakers. I think these Lakers are going to be better than people think. LeBron is going to win you 25 games alone. Just with that guy, and you add that with the wins they had last year, which I think was 22. You add LeBron's 25, maybe 25. That's 47 wins. And in the West, that would get you at least the 4th or 3rd seed. I think the Warriors are going to have 50 plus. I think the Jazz could even have 50 plus, and the Rockets could have 50 plus. But 4th seed for the Lakers with LeBron, with all that talent, you get him any seed in the playoffs, he's going to get you at least past one round. That's just how it goes. I just really like LeBron in LA this year. I think it's going to be really interesting. As a sports fan, as a basketball fan, as a podcast, I think LeBron to the Lakers is fantastic. I really like Rondo. I really like Lonzo with him. I really like, no, he's not on the team. Brandon Ingram. I almost just said Julius Randle, but he's in New Orleans now. But I just really like, that whole team well-rounded around him. Although people are saying that the Lakers supporting cast is better than the Cavs. I do not believe that one bit. Kevin Love is better than any other player on that team. J.R. Smith is probably better than most of those people on that team. They had chemistry. I just don't think they're better than the Cavs. But they very well could be. They could be a different type of game plan, although I don't think their skill-wise is up to par as them yet. Maybe in 2 years, way above them. But right now, Kevin Love is way better than any of those players. All right. So now let me write down this time we have and then move into the Week 6 recap of the NFL. So moving into this, I just want to talk about basically the scores of what happened last week in every NFL game because I know a lot of people like to see what's their favorite team, and I like to talk about every team in my podcast. So let's go down the list starting from last Thursday, Eagles at Giants. I was really impressed with the Eagles this year, or last Thursday, because they showed me that they did not die off. I just really like how the Eagles were able to maintain who they were and get Carson Wentz going, Alshon Jeffrey going, and they just kind of pounded it on the Giants. Although the Giants look sloppy, and everyone knows that. Eli Manning is a good scapegoat for most people. But I just don't think a lot of people should be hating on Eli Manning right off the bat because football's not a one-person sport. And a lot of people instantly go to, well, Eli, he should have, they just instantly throw his name in there because he's the quarterback. I get quarterback's the most marketable thing in sports. But you don't go and hate on your quarterback. Maybe get him some time. Maybe instead of pouting on the sidelines or going for PI calls, number 13, you look up and try to help your guys. I do think Odell has taken a better leadership this year, and I really like Sterling Shepard, and I really like Ingram, and I really like Saquon. I really like this Giants team, but they're really not just showing it. Maybe it's coaching. Maybe these guys are hard to coach. Who knows? But I was really impressed with these Eagles. They won 34-13 in New York. In divisional game, NFC East. Buccaneers at Falcons. Man, the Buccaneers were lateral away from winning this game against the Falcons. That just shows that the Falcons are just not the Falcons. They're not the same Falcons. I just think these guys are too talented to be bad. And at the beginning of this year, I said that division is stacked. And I still do believe that the division is pretty good. But just after these past 5 weeks, it's hard for me to kind of really be obsessed with these Falcons. These Buccaneers put up a good game against this Falcons defense, and that kind of shocked me because I thought the defense was really their strong suit. And I just really like that team, and it's just shocking. I know they're injury ridiculed right now. They're on a little bit of a handicap, but still, you got to win that game if you're the Buccaneers. The Falcons did win this game at home barely against these Bucs. If the Falcons are who they say they are, they cannot be barely beating teams like that. Win's a win. I get that, but Falcons should have had more of a commanding game, especially in division. Moving on to the Panthers at Redskins, Josh Norman versus Cam Newton. That is the biggest headline of this game, at least. Cam Newton did throw a pick to him. It was kind of sloppy. I didn't really give him too much credit, but he got a pick. Cam Newton was butthurt at the end of the game. Josh Norman was smiling ear to ear. The Redskins are looking all right. I mean, the NFL, it goes to show, you're a couple good players away, veteran players, sign them. You're good. You got Alex Smith now. That offense is not looking too bad. It could look better. AP's balling out. They got the old guys balling out on the team, I think. I think the Redskins are figuring something out. I was really shocked that the Panthers lost this game. I picked the Panthers, and wow, the Redskins did let them come back into the game, and that was the only bad thing I could say about that. But the Panthers rallied back and made it a good game, but Redskins come up 23-17 at home in Washington. Seahawks against the Raiders in London. Okay, let me start off by saying when the Seahawks play like this in the NFL, they're a fantastic and fun team to watch. But when they play like they did 3 weeks ago, they look pathetic. And let me tell you, if the Seahawks play like this every week, they very well could be in the NFC wildcard. And before you turn off the podcast, before you get all upset and say, Dom's fucking crazy, let me tell you why. That defense is young, and they got some good playmakers. The offense has Russell Wilson and a good running game and a solid line with Duane Brown now. They have pretty fast-ass receivers, and Doug Baldwin hasn't even touched the field yet. You look at this Seahawks team, and you say, this is an NFC wildcard team. If the NFC lets them. The NFC would have to let something happen, and the NFC would have to just tank. Because the NFC is the west side, like how it is in basketball, if that makes sense. The NFC is way more stacked than the AFC this year. There's way more teams that could represent the NFC than as if with the AFC. So, with that being said, I think the Seahawks could make wild card if they play like this every week, because they played fantastic against the Rams last week. And I love that. I love that the Rams showed some vulnerability. But the Seahawks got to play like this every week. If they don't play like this every week, they're going to be the Seahawks we saw at the beginning of the year. But I think they have it in them. Moving into the Colts at Jets game, Jets, Jets. The Jets put up 42 points against these Colts. Colts doesn't have a great defense. They don't have a great defense. Andrew Luck did put up 34 points. I know a lot of other people scored, but Andrew Luck, commanded the team to 34 points. And I just think the reason the Colts lost this game is that defense of theirs. That defense is sloppy. Horrible. I'm going to go out and flat out say bummish. These Jets just took command of that, and they just showed hey, we'll score off every time we get the ball. As long as, say our defense lets us score, we're going to have to score right back, and that's what they did. and the Jets went at home and in New York, and I think it was a good game. Andrew Luck, although, did come up a little short. I'm just saying the Jets' defensive line got to him really well, and I think the Jets' defense is really underrated. Moving into the Cardinals at Vikings game, the Cardinals made this a bit of a game, although the Minnesota Vikings ended up winning this game because they are the better team. They're the way better team. These guys shouldn't even have some losses. They shouldn't have lost to the Bills. But the thing about the Vikings is let me tell you, they played down to a lot of teams' levels. I just think if the Vikings didn't do that, they would have won this game by a lot. But since they're playing Arizona, they thought maybe, we're going to win this game. They're an NFC West team, blah, blah, blah. We'll whoop on them. I just don't think they should be doing that. It just feels like they're doing that to me as a fan. Like, not a fan of the Vikings, but like as a football fan, it just looked like that. But the Vikings ended up winning this one at home, 27-17, wins a win. Steelers at Bengals, and man, I couldn't be any more disappointed in a team other than the Cincinnati fucking Bengals, man. These guys, okay, they should have won this game. This is a statement game. You're in the AFC North. You're on the top of the division. You beat Baltimore, probably the best second team in the division. You're playing the Steelers, who are the fourth or third. I don't know. The Browns are pretty good this year. But then you just stink it up at home. Pittsburgh is second home is Cincinnati. And it just bums me out to see that the Bengals they just shrink. They turn into like the Cincinnati House Cats when they play the fucking Steelers. I just can't believe that they blew it that bad. I just don't get it, man. Steelers win this game 28-21. The Bengals looked sloppy on all aspects of the field. They were playing dirty. It was a really gritty game. The Steelers just had the ball at the end of the game and just scored. That's basically what happened. I'm just really disappointed in these Bengals. I'm going to, I just think they're going to be kind of lower in my power rankings, but I'm not going to move them down too low. Moving into the Chargers at Browns, the Chargers embarrassed the Browns at home. I just think this was a fantastic game put on by the Chargers. They did not want to lose to the Browns like they did a couple years ago. Phillip Rivers, Melvin Gordon, that receiving core and that defense is underrated. A lot of people are just sleeping on the Chargers. I get it because a couple weeks ago they were kind of being a little bummy. But that offense is good as any offense. I think they're as good as Jared Goff and Todd Gurley. I really do. And it's just like LA's got something figured out with their quarterbacks and running backs. Phillip Rivers, if he wasn't in Drew Brees and Tom Brady's shadow, he'd be a great. He's going to be a great. I just hope he gets a Super Bowl, but I don't see it happening, to be honest with you. The Browns' defense didn't look as good as it thought it did, and the offense looked sloppy. Chargers' defense killed them this game. Chargers win 38-14 in Cleveland. The dog pound. The Bills at the Texans. The Bills, okay, this was one of those games where you watch and you're just like, it's punt after punt after punt after punt. I couldn't watch the whole game. I had to because I have Deshaun Watson as my fantasy quarterback. And let me tell you, I was just butthurt the whole time. I can't believe I'm watching this. And the Bills had an opportunity to win this, and the Texans just have a D. Hopkins, and they have J.J. Watt, and they got Deshaun Watson, Lamar Miller, Jadeveon Clowney. They should have won this game by more. But win's a win. Texans win in Houston 2013. Bears at Dolphins. This was a game I was really shocked about. I really thought the Bears would just go in there and stomp on Miami because Miami was kind of they're 3-0 at the beginning of the year. Everyone was like, oh, shit, Miami's back. Miami's, I didn't buy it one bit. They played some weak teams, and now that they're playing some good teams, they kind of just choke under pressure. These Bears, I was kind of shocked that their offense couldn't go against this Miami defense. This Miami defense isn't really too crazy good. I just really think the Bears should have, I don't know. I thought they were going to punch through in overtime, but they just couldn't come through. Dolphins win this one 31-28 in Miami. For one of the afternoon games, Rams at Broncos, and this was a really good game. A lot of people were saying they could see Denver beating LA, and I was like, it could happen. But these Los Angeles Rams showed some vulnerability against these Broncos. That defense showed some promising stuff, but Todd Gurley was too much. Todd Gurley is the most talented running back in this league. Don't at me on that. He's better than Le'Veon Bell. He's better than Ezekiel Elliott. He's better than David Johnson. I just think, and that system is built perfect for him. I don't know if you were to put Todd Gurley in a different situation, maybe he wouldn't do as good because we saw that with Jeff Fisher, and he obviously didn't really do too good there in LA or St. Louis. But I just really think that Todd Gurley is the most talented running back, and he's so hard to stop. He's doing everything right as a running back. Rams win this 23-20 in Denver. Ravens against the Titans in Tennessee. Baltimore ends up winning 21-0. And man, I don't know what to think about these Ravens. I obviously have them in my top 10 in the power rankings, but it's just like after how they played against Cleveland, I understand Cleveland has a fantastic defense and a pretty good offense. These Ravens just couldn't really get anything going last week, but this week I think they just took it out on the Titans. They had 11 sacks. Zadarius Smith had 4 on his own. Zadarius Smith, who a lot of people are asking who this guy even came from. He was on the team last year as a Baltimore Raven. He balled out pretty well, but this is his contract year. I think he's really trying to get that contract. So, I mean, man, that defense is phenomenal. Terrell Suggs is always a pleasure to watch. Joe Flacco delivered some big catches to Michael Crabtree. Even though Michael Crabtree dropped a game-winning one against Cleveland, he made up for it. You know, the Ravens are a pretty good team this year. That defense is awesome. I love what they switch up. They have some crazy defensive settings. I just think it's amazing. As a Ravens fan, I was really proud of this win, 21-0 in Tennessee. Jags at Cowboys. And let me just say, maybe the Jaguars' defense is a little overrated. They have a really good defensive line, 2 good outside corners and some solid safeties and some good backers. But it didn't look like they did against these Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott was throwing more than 10 yards, and when that happens, they're a better team. Ezekiel Elliott had some stuff going. That line was going good. Okay, and then at one play in the end zone, these Jaguars dropped 9 people in the coverage, and Dak Prescott still found someone to get open. When you don't get pressure on the quarterback like that, someone's going to get open. And I wish Dallas would figure that out, but they obviously didn't really figure that out. Cowboys won 40-7 in Dallas. Tremendous effort by the Cowboys this week. It just goes to show the NFC East is still up for grabs. And the Jaguars showed some damn vulnerability for damn sure. Going into the Chiefs at Patriots game, the Patriots ended up winning this game 43-40. As an AFC Baltimore Ravens fan, this game I didn't really care who won. But the Chiefs, I did not want to win. I kind of wanted New England to win, just because I'm tired of all this Pat Mahomes hype. But let me tell you that the Kansas City Chiefs offense looks fantastic. That defense is the only thing that makes me stop from liking them. I would love the Kansas City Chiefs if they still had like Atamba Ali, Derek Brooks, all those good players like that were super entertaining to watch. You know, they had, Eric Berry was back there. I think Eric Berry is obviously still there. Ron Parker's still there. But it's just, I really miss the old Chiefs that were defense first. But this Chiefs team is all offense this year. And I think the Patriots just wanted to have a shootout with him, and Tom Brady's obviously going to win most of these shootouts. There's only been 3 teams that have beat New England in Foxborough. I know that's playoff times, but when it comes down to buckling down, I think the Colts, Ravens, and the Steelers, I believe, are the only teams that beat New England at home come the end of the season. I know it's not the end of the season, but I just wanted to point out that statistic. I just really like Tom Brady this game. He looked phenomenal. He looked like he turned back the age. Their offense looked good, but their defense, both defenses look terrible. They both let 40 and 43 points happen. So I couldn't really go off much of that. Tyreek Hill's unguardable. Kareem Hunt balled out. Edelman played a good game. Even Gronk had a couple of big catches. I just really think the Patriots were the stronger team in this one. I think they're just better coached. I think that's what won them this game. Patriots win 43-40 in Foxborough. Moving into the Monday night, it was a shootout in Lambeau Field with Aaron Rodgers and who? The 49ers quarterback, Beathard, put on a pretty good show against the Green Bay Packers defense. It's an NFL defense, I'll give them that, but they're not the greatest NFL defense. They were balling out. They had some good deep balls. But at the end of the day, in a shootout, you're not going to beat Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau. I'm sorry, but you're not. There's not a lot of teams who could beat Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau, and it definitely wasn't going to be this injured 49er team. Packers win this game 33-30 in Lambeau Field. All right, now that we're on to the next part of the show, let's talk about the weekly take picks for Week 7. Ayo. Okay, so let's start off with the first game of the week, and that's this Thursday, and it's currently going on. I know I'm a little late, but Broncos at Cardinals, I did see the score. I'll be honest with you, but I have the Broncos picked. The reason I picked the Broncos is because I just think the Broncos are a more talented team. I like the defensive line. I like Emmanuel Sanders on the outside. I like Demaryius Thomas. I like Phillip Lindsay. I like the running game. Their offensive line's a little, it's iffy. But I really like the Broncos this year. I just think they've gotten some bad luck this year. The Cardinals, on the other hand, I really like Josh Rosen and David Johnson. But other than that, they're not really that good. I know they got my guy Larry on the outside, and they got Pat Peterson on the other defensive side. But they even have Deion Buchanan. He's a very good safety and middle linebacker hybrid from Washington State, might I add. I just think the Broncos win this game. Moving into the Titans at Chargers, I got to go Chargers. Chargers looked fantastic last week, and I really like Melvin Gordon. I don't think the Titans are going to be able to stop Melvin Gordon. I think the defense of the Chargers gets the Titans. And I'm not even really going to say much about that game because I think the Chargers are going to win at home in LA. Moving into the Texans at Jaguars, I got to go Jags. I think the Jags bounce back. These Texans look pathetic on offense, and if the Jaguars defense plays better than they did last week against the Cowboys, if they play like they did against New England, I think they're going to be in good shape. I think the Jaguars offense gets going against this defense. The Texans defense is really J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney and Tyrann Mathieu, I guess. And, I really don't think the Texans are going to have enough power to beat these Jaguars. So I'm going to go Jags. Moving into the Eagles at Panthers, I got to go Eagles. Eagles are home, the defending champs. They got Carson Wentz back. Alshon Jeffrey's healthy. Jay Ajayi is out. Their running backs are injured. That's the only thing I could say. The Panthers could get McCaffrey going, Cam Newton going, Funchess going. That defense could get going, buckle down maybe against these Eagles. But I like the Eagles at home. That's a tough home team to go in and beat nowadays. They're green and they're black in there. It's a green and black hole. I'll tell you that for sure. I think the Eagles win this game. Okay, moving into the Vikings at Jets game. Here is a hot take of the week for me. A lot of people would go Minnesota this week. And I even have them crossed in to win. But you know what? There's also an erase mark right there. And there's also another X with a big circle around it that says NY Jets. I think the Jets are the upset of the week, and I think they beat these Vikings at home. The reason I say that is because this defensive line is very underrated. This Jets defense is underrated. I think Sam Darnold's underrated. Isaiah Crowell's underrated. That whole team as a whole is underrated. And let me just start off by saying, Kirk Cousins and the Vikings could very well go into New York and whoop on them. But what's holding me back is that defense of the Jets and how good they played. Because if the Vikings show anything like they did against Buffalo a couple weeks ago, I'm going to keep holding that above their head because Buffalo is not that good of a team. If they show any of that vulnerability, I think Isaiah Crowell runs it right up the gut on them, and I think Sam Darnold throws it over top. I like the Jets this game. I'm going New York Jets in New York. Next game is Patriots at Bears. I got to go Patriots. They got Tom Brady. They're better coached. Their defense is, middle of the pack. I just like the offense against the Bears. Khalil Mack is going to eat, obviously. He's going to do awesome like he always does every week. But I just don't think he's going to be enough for these Patriots. I think the Patriots go into Soldier Field and beat the Bears. Moving into the Bills at Colts, this is one of those games I could go either way. I'm going to have to go Colts, though, because I like Andrew Luck. I really like just that offense in general. The only thing, let me tell you why that's a bad pick, though. The Bills, actually, when they show some light, they're a pretty good team. That offense, if it gets going, they have playmakers. They still have LaShawn McCoy back there. A lot of people like to forget that. And if their quarterbacks like to kind of be a little hard to pick. But I still like Andrew Luck because he's more consistent. I like Eric Ebron. I like T.Y. Hilton. I like Marlon Mack. I really do. I just think the Colts are going to win this game against the Bills. I don't think the Bills are going to win this. So I'm going Colts at home. Browns at Buccaneers. I got to go Browns. I really like that defense. I don't think the Buccaneers barely squeezed by the Atlanta Falcons, and that defense isn't that great either. They have the playmakers, but they don't play great as a whole. The Browns playing terrific as a whole. Denzel Ward is a beast out in the secondary. Myles Garrett is going to get to the quarterback. That's just two people alone right there that are going to make a big difference in this game that Atlanta did not have last week because Buccaneers played Atlanta, and I just think the Browns are going to have a really good defensive day, and I think it's going to be hard for the Bucs to put up points. So I'm going Browns in Tampa Bay. Lions at Dolphins. I got to go Dolphins. I think the Dolphins bounce back after losing to Chicago like that in Miami. I just think they're going to come back and win against these Lions. These Lions do have Kerryon Johnson, Marvin Jones, Matt Stafford, and a pretty good line. And they also have Golden Tate. That could be a big problem for these Dolphins. But I still think the Dolphins win. I really like Albert Wilson on that side. Kenyon Drake. The quarterback, Brock Osweiler, came in and did pretty well. If Ryan Tannehill comes back, he could come back and do very well too. But I really like the Dolphins at home in Miami this week. Saints at Ravens, I got to go Ravens this week. As a Ravens fan, as a podcaster, as an NFL fan, I still just think the Ravens are going to win this game. I like the offense. I think their offense is going to do better than... I like the percentages of the Ravens offense against their defense than the Saints offense against the Ravens defense. The Ravens offense is higher rated. Not higher rated than the Saints, but I think it's higher rated and is going to do more against the Saints than the Saints is going to do against the Ravens. I think the Ravens are going to make some big plays on defense. Drew Brees is going to have a hard time. It's the only team he has to beat in the NFL, may I add that. But let me tell you why this is a bad pick, and I very well could look stupid in front of all who are listening. The Saints have Drew Brees. Drew Brees alone can win you games. And I know I said in the NFL that's not possible, but he can very well win you games. They have Alvin Kamara, however you want to say it. He's fantastic. Fantastic receiving back, fantastic running back. They have Mark Ingram as his backup. So if Alvin Kamara goes down, they have a good backup. They have Michael Thomas. And let me just add, A.J. Green has heydays on the Ravens every time he plays them. So does A.B. We haven't played a guy like Michael Thomas in a long time. I think it's going to be a problem for the Ravens, Michael Thomas back there. Willie Snead, I think, is going to get some touches from the Ravens this week. Maybe he has a revenge game. Who knows? John Brown's going to eat. Michael Crabtree's going to eat. But that's one thing I'm worried about as a Ravens fan is how the Saints offense is going to look in Baltimore. But I really like the home crowd. I really like the defense. I've got to go Baltimore this week. Moving into the Cowboys at Redskins rivalry game, I'm going to go Cowboys. If they play like that against the Jags, I think they can win I think they can win a lot of games. That maybe even win the NFC East. I just really think that the Redskins are a little overrated, but I still do respect them. I think they have a lot of veteran players that know how to play the game of football really well, and I think that has won them most of their games so far. But I think the Cowboys have a better talent, and I think the Cowboys go into Washington and win this week. Moving into the Rams at Niners game, I got to go Rams. I honestly don't have to say much about this game. I just think the Rams are going to just run over these 49ers. But if the 49ers played like they did against Green Bay, maybe they make it a little bit of a game. But I just think the Rams are going to run over these 49ers. Moving into the Bengals at Chiefs for Sunday night. And you guys know what I just said about these Bengals. I am disappointed in them. And for them to maybe fall off the horse and lose to the Chiefs is very well possible. In Kansas City, that is a loud-ass fucking stadium. Arrowhead is no place to be joking around. That offense is fantastic. Maybe their defense balls out against the Bengals. You know, I do like the Bengals' defense against this offense. But I just think the Chiefs are a little too much for them. I got to go Chiefs in Kansas City against these Bengals. I do like A.J. Green, Andy Dalton, Joe Mixon, Giovanni Bernard, Eifert, Boyd. I really like that team. But I just really think the Chiefs are going to end up winning this game in Arrowhead. Monday night, this is like a fantasy-type game. Giants at Falcons, I'm going Giants. I think the Giants are going to click on all cylinders this week. I think Odell's going to have 2 touchdowns. I think Saquon has 2 touchdowns. I think the Giants have a really good offensive day. I think the Falcons, make it a good game. Maybe it's a shootout, but I just still think the Giants are just going to come up a little bit short. And it's just, so this week I'm going Giants winning in Mercedes-Benz Arena or Dome. I think, yeah, it's in Georgia, so Mercedes. But I know Mercedes is also New Orleans. But you know what I'm saying. They're going to win in Atlanta, I think. I hope. All right, and moving into the last part of the show, I just want to talk about my picks for the Super Bowl and for the NBA Finals. And let me start off by saying, let's start off with the NBA. There's 3 teams that I think could come out of the West that could win the NBA Finals. I think that is the Houston Rockets, the Golden State Warriors, and the Los Angeles Lakers. I think those 3 teams could very well represent the western side of the NBA. Let me move into the other 3 teams on the east side that could represent Toronto, Boston, and Philly. Those 3 teams I think could represent the East. But if I were to pick from one team from each side of those things, I got to go Warriors as the West. That team is just, how do you pick against that team? Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson. That bench is phenomenal. Iguodala is there. It's just, that team's so hard to pick against. So I think the Warriors going to the West side. It's a shame that we're able to say this in the beginning of the year. So I say the Warriors represent from the the Western side. In the Eastern side, I think Toronto. I really think Toronto is going to be in the finals this year. I think Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green is a fantastic addition for that team. I think that's all they needed. Those two guys have won championships together. They know how to win championships. They know how to win playoff games. That's something Toronto does not know how to do. That blueprint right there is going to help them win games. Kyrie Irving, although, in Boston, Gordon Hayward, Brown, Tatum, Baines, that team, Terry, is very well balanced and could give them a very good run. But I really don't think they're gonna. What the hell am I saying? I think it's gonna go to Game 7, but I think it's gonna come down to whoever's healthier, and I really think Toronto's gonna win. I think it's gonna go to Game 7. I don't think the Sixers are too big of a threat as the Boston and Toronto is. So I'm gonna go NBA Finals, Warriors, Raptors, and I think the Warriors win it in 6. But I don't know. Kyle Lowry, I think, could guard Steph. I think Kawhi Leonard could lock up Kevin Durant. When I say lock up, I mean limit. Nobody can lock up Kevin Durant. I think you stop him to 22, 25. You just don't let Kevin Durant score 50. I think that's what Kawhi Leonard will be able to do. But we'll see from there. I know Draymond Green's probably going to guard Kawhi, and that could be a big issue. I think it's going to be a very good series if it comes to that. But other than that, I just want to thank you guys for listening to the show. This is episode 6. We are also now on YouTube, WeeklyTake. Just type it in the search bar, WeeklyTake. SoundCloud, we're on WeeklyTake Podcast. Check us out on there. If that's easier for you to listen to on YouTube or to on SoundCloud, that's perfectly fine. They're both the same episodes. I'm going to have the times so you guys can scroll to whatever section you want to watch. Say you just want to watch the NBA parts. Say you just want to watch the NFL parts. Say you just want to listen to the damn intro that was brought to you by Icy Mikey. On SoundCloud, ICYMIKEY. That's how you spell it. Go check him out. Fantastic dude. Other than that, thanks again, guys, for listening to the show. It means the entire world to me. Have a good one.